Hi everyone, I'm Wind of the Stars, and you're watching Daddy's Game Time.
Hi, this is Rick from Daddy's Game Time, and I have the pleasure today of being with Wind of the Stars.
Hi guys. Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. So, question that I have first of all is,
Sure.
How did you come up with that name?
It's actually references to Soul Calibur. Back in the day, I used to do a lot of forum stuff with Soul Calibur online, and my main for Soul Calibur was always Talim. You know, she's like the Wind Priestess, and she does like Wind Guide Me and all that stuff. So I came up with a name called Talim's Wind, which obviously sounds like a bad flatulent joke. So I was like, oh, I need to think of something else. So I, since she was always like going on about destiny, so I came up with Wind of the Stars, like Wind of Destiny. So, and then since I used it and I kind of liked it, and it was unique, and when I started cosplaying, I'm like, I will just use this name.
Just kind of stuck then after,
stuck.
huh?
Yeah, so.
Well, it's definitely a unique name, something like an identifier, you know?
Yeah.
So it's out there, people will recognize Wind of the Stars now.
Yeah.
So, before we continue, just want to kind of let you know a little bit about us. Daddy's Game Time is a show intended for, it's somewhat family oriented, but it's more of the father, right? The dad.
Yeah.
Gamers, tech, movies, all that crazy stuff that parents don't usually get to do anymore because of the kids.
Right.
So we're just kind of trying to focus on the likes, the interest, focus on, in general, all the stuff that we like, and kind of share it out there with everybody else to kind of get a feel of the stuff that, you know, we all enjoy.
Right.
Being here at Fanime 2015, it's kind of like combining all of those elements. We got anime, games, movies, a whole bunch of different categories, which brings us to being able to introduce yourself.
Awesome.
Itachi, I always keep mispronouncing that name, I think is one of the greatest characters of Naruto. I love that series.
Oh, I love that series too. I did Sakura earlier on Friday, and we had our Team 7.
Yeah, we missed you. I saw your Facebook pictures and whatnot.
And so like we just actually got done doing our full Akatsuki group, so we had like our full group and stuff.
Oh, man, that would have been something to catch.
Yeah.
So how did you pick this one?
Well, I like, I'm a huge fangirl for all the Uchihas, and like Sasuke's my favorite, then obviously Itachi and like Obito and stuff. But my group, they actually were like, oh, our Itachi, you know, he dropped out, and then we don't have our pain, and I was just like, I'll do it. So it was just kind of like, it became together because I'm like, oh, I wanted to do him anyways. So, and then they needed someone, so it happened. It just happened.
Filled in that spot.
Yeah.
So do you have an Akatsuki, I believe it's
Akatsuki, yeah,
Akatsuki.
yeah.
Do you have a group going on out there, or is it just in general?
Oh yeah, it was a lot of us. We were all kind of friends. You know, we all kind of knew each other, or if we didn't, you know, like a couple of us didn't know each other too well, but like, oh, it's a friend of our friend, you know, the thing. And so we just kind of like, oh, let's do this. And so it just came together, and we had our group. We were out walking around for like about a last hour or so. We did some photos, and it was fun. So.
Yeah, it definitely is. So how long have you been cosplaying?
I've been cosplaying this is my 11th year cosplaying. I actually started making costumes and just kind of like wearing them, and then went to like my anime manga club on campus when I was in college, and I would do their events and stuff. And then a few years afterwards, like 2 years, I discovered conventions. And so I went to conventions, and then I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And it just kind of snowballed. I started making friends and met more people who liked the same things that I did. And we just like, hey, let's do this costume. Oh yeah, let's do that costume. And then it just kept going.
So about how many different costumes have you compiled?
Let's see. For myself, I've done over 100. I've done a lot of commission work too, so we're in the under 150, but over 100 kind of area. So there's been a lot.
Very busy.
Yeah, a lot of sewing.
Generally, about how long does it take per? Average-wise?
It kind of just depends upon the costume and the build that you're doing. There's some that are actually pretty quick. You know, they're very simple. Like this one was pretty quick. The collar was kind of a pain in the butt to do to get the right shape, but otherwise the rest of the sewing was pretty fast. But other stuff I've spent up towards like 3 months working on a costume before that was really armor intensive, and a lot of times if I know it's going to be a more of expensive costume, I kind of spread it out a little bit so it's a little bit easier to budget. But a lot of times I do my stuff now these days, since I'm so busy and I have shows quite often. I try to do stuff in about anywhere from like 3 to 2 week time span, sometimes under a week, sometimes like a couple days before the convention. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to sew.
Right. So how about budget-wise? If you notice that it's going to require a lot of material, a lot of cost going into that, do you just kind of throw it out the window and say no, you know, do something else, or do you just like?
Well, like a perfect example of that, like I really want to do M7 armor from Mass Effect, and I know the way I want to do. I want to fiberglass and all that, and I know it's going to be a really expensive build. So it's one of those ones. It's kind of like the bucket list costume right now, because I know I don't have the funds, and I'm afraid that there's going to be, like, I've done fiberglass before, but the way I want to do it, there's going to be a big learning curve. So I know there's going to be a lot more cost just because I'm going to end up wasting supplies. So, but if there's something that's expensive and I'm just like dead set on doing it, I try to find ways of doing maybe it cheaper, or I buy stuff like when I see it and I'll just,
over time.
Yeah, so you know, like, oh, okay, maybe I don't have to do that costume. I'm not going to do that costume for maybe like a half a year to a year, but maybe I find the perfect wig at a really, really cheap price. Instead of paying $60, I paid $20 for I'll snag it. So it's just kind of, you know, and of course coupons going into things for sales and stuff. You know, there's ways to be frugal about how you build your costumes.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, we've asked a couple others too, and some have said taking them 2 to 3 years to compile their outfits. So I would assume finding bits and pieces here and there and finally getting it together to that look that they're, you know, that they feel. So how would you, or how do you feel? This is a pretty popular, you know, the theme, right? Naruto.
Yeah.
How do you feel if you see someone else wearing something similar or the exact same thing?
I actually really love it, because that means, like, I know they like the same thing that I do. And so a lot of times if I see someone else, I'm like, oh my God, you know, so-and-so. And then I'm like, hey, let's take a photo and stuff. So I really like seeing other people do the same stuff. I mean, it doesn't even bother me, because I'm like, that just means that you're a fan like me. You know, so, and I've actually met a lot of my friends that way, because they were wearing either a series that I was already cosplaying from, or maybe they have already done that character before, and then I was wearing it now, and I wanted to meet them. It's like, oh, you did that character, you know, you did Lilith from Borderlands too. Let's meet up. I want to talk to you. So I like it. I mean, to me, I'm like, the more the merrier. So.
All right. So do you like to, like going along with that, do you like to share maybe tips, tricks kind of on how to get this look, or do you prefer to kind of keep it your own little?
I actually really like teaching people. I mean, this weekend I had 3 panels about how to do different stuff, and kind of just giving knowledge where I can. And I really like helping people become better at their craft. You know, like, I want everyone to be able to feel very confident and very proud of the work that they can do construction-wise in costume crafting. So anytime someone wants to ask me a question, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm working, you know, say they're working on Itachi, you know, like, hey, how'd you do the clouds on your cloak? Like, can you tell me what supply that you use? And I'll be more than happy to tell them, you know, like, oh yeah, it's heat transfer vinyl, you can get it here and stuff. So I think the only time that people kind of get a little weird is when people just expect you to do everything for them. You know, like, they want you to hold their hand, and we're kind of like, well, we don't mind helping, but we don't want to, like,
do it for
you, you know? So, like, sometimes there's that line that's crossed, and you kind of like, well, I don't mind helping you, but so.
Yeah, it's definitely, because I've seen a lot of, you know, creativity put into a lot of these outfits that people are wearing, and I think some of them have that feel like, I suffered kind of trying to get this look.
Yes.
It's my look. But yeah, like how you said, it's nice to help others out, to kind of, maybe they don't have the funds, maybe they don't have the overall knowledge of how to obtain all that material wise, or the patterns or whatnot. So it's kind of nice to kind of, you know, share amongst you and keep it in this community, because it's, I mean, just the whole atmosphere out there. It's really awesome. Everybody getting together, and I would assume that not everybody knows everybody, so see that partnership between everybody, like you said, you see someone from the same series and let's take a picture. It's just that atmosphere. I think it's pretty amazing. Okay, well, moving along, I had another question. I've noticed that you also do gameplay videos, unboxing videos. How long have you been doing that?
I've just been doing, actually just kind of recently started. It's just, I mean, I've always been playing games, and then I saw some of my friends were doing streaming. I'm like, oh, that's kind of a fun way to interact with people that maybe I don't get to see at conventions, you know, because there's a lot of people who, like, either follow my work online, and while we talk online through comments and stuff like that, there's not a lot of, like, real intimate interaction, and I like to be able to talk to people who have the same interests that I do, you know. And so like doing game streams is a lot of fun because, you know, they can actually come in and it's a lifetime chat and we can sit there and talk about the game and everything like that. So I really enjoy doing the game streams, and then I also like playing games. So but the unboxing videos is just something I've done recently. Nerdblock reached out to me and I've been working with them, so that's why I've been doing the stuff with Nerdblock, which has been a lot of fun. And then like getting all the little goodies.
Yeah, it's a surprise to, you know, get something in that box.
Yeah, you know, it's Comic-Con, pretty much just Comic-Con in a box.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that is awesome. So what would be, or what type of games, what themes or categories do you enjoy to play?
Some of my favorites are first-person shooters. I like a lot of shooters across the board. Third persons are okay. I don't mind. Like I really love Mass Effect, which is obviously a third person. But first-person shooters I love. I like a lot of action games and stuff. Some RPGs. It depends upon the RPG. I'm not a fan of like turn-based RPGs, but like RPGs in the sense of like Dragon Age and stuff. I like those types. Fighting games. I usually like Soul Calibur was like kind of what got me back into gaming. Yeah. When I was really young, my dad had like a Commodore 64, so I used to play games on there, you know, like Galaga and stuff. So I grew up with that, and I had a Sega Genesis. But when I was in high school, like we didn't have the funds to have like a system, so I didn't get back into gaming again until I got, you know, older, like, you know, 18, 19 and stuff like that, where I had to live my own funds. You know? So, but yeah, so fighting games, I kind of like to try a little bit of everything, because you never know. Like sometimes, like, oh, I don't really care for that game, but you play it and it's like a sleeper hit for you.
Something good. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we grew up in that same era of the 80s. So from the 8-bit, you know, Atari, I remember, you know, back in the day too, going to what we have now. It's like, there's just this huge change in the type of games. And it's funny, actually, a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, we came up with a video comparing old consoles against new consoles. And me and one of my buddies here, we were debating whether or not, you know, all these old school games, how kids react to them and stuff like that. So it's just amazing to see what it goes. But yeah, as you were saying, the genre, the type of the theme of the game, you don't really know until you actually try. But yeah, I mean, a lot of influences us as fathers, as family members, and this show in particular, as I was saying. But anyways, I mean, that's pretty much all the questions that we had for you. So I really appreciate your time.
No problem.